little Lightroom 4 tutorial on screen. As you can see here, we have a nice shot from the Liberty Square Bridge looking at Cinderella Castle, one of my favorite places to shoot in all of Magic Kingdom. As you can see up here, Canon RAW file for the 5D Mark III, 17 millimeters with the 17-40 ultra wide lens. So first of all, let's go ahead and we're going to go to the exposure slider. I like to boost this up just a tiny bit, just to bring out some of the light in this area and over here. Since the highlight and shadows tabs are so powerful in Lightroom, I'm going to go ahead and drop the highlights down a little bit. If you go down too far, it's going to start to look a little fake, so I like to keep it, reasonably controlled. We'll go right around 25. Same thing with the shadows. If you go too far, you're going to get something that looks a little on the silly side, so I like to go a little bit more controlled. Then from there, where I'll head over to is the blacks. I like nice dark inky blacks in my photo, so somewhere in this range will work for me, I guess. Contrast, if you go too far, you're gonna get that Instagram-ish look to your photos, so I try to keep it modest. Again, modesty is important in my eyes. Depends on your style. Clarity is the same thing. If you go really far, you're gonna push it into almost HDR-ish look. So I tend to not go over anywhere more than like 15 or 20 clarity. From there, vibrance is one of my favorite tools to use. Vibrance increases the saturation in the colors that need it, but not the ones that don't. So as you can see, when I pull it, it's adding some color, but it's not getting ridiculous. And we're going to adjust it, individual colors right now. So to do that, we're going to go down to the hue, saturation, and luminance tab. When I pulled the vibrance slider over a little bit to the right, you started to get a couple yellows and oranges that I didn't really like in the castle. So we're going to go into saturation. We're going to pull those oranges and yellows back just a little bit. Not too much because there was good lighting on the castle that day. So that should be pretty good. I also like very blue skies, so I'm going to increase my blues probably right around 36. That looks pretty good. And then I'm also going to go into luminance because I really like my dark blues in the sky also. So I'm going to pull that down, not too far, because if you go too far, you're going to get some haloing. You don't want haloing, that's bad. And then also I tend to find that the Canon cameras especially oversaturate the greens in the raw file, so I'll come down on the greens a little bit, and I'm also going to come down on the yellows too, because the yellow is actually very embedded in those greens that you see. So from here you can see that's the original image, and that's the processed image so far. So it is a significant change, although it doesn't look crazy out of control. From here, what I like to do is I like to sharpen. So I like to just give it a click and zoom all the way in. You can see the ugly nets from the dream lights. Sharpening, I don't like to go too far, until it looks decent. If you go too far, again, you start to get a really blocky look. So I usually like to go somewhere around here. And then what I'm going to do is the masking tab, which is a fantastic way to add sharpening to only certain parts of the image that need it. So you're going to hold down the Alt key or Option key, depending on Windows or Mac. And when you do that and you click, it's going to get this funky looking image. And you can see here when I pull it back, the white areas are what's sharpened. The black areas are what's not. So I don't want to really touch the sky. I really only want to touch the details in the castle and some of those nice details in the water and the trees. So I'm going to land here at about 78, and that's going to work out nicely. And then lastly, sometimes I like to add a little touch of vignette. This one right here, highlight priority. I don't tend to go super far like that. It looks fake. Vignetting is a subjective thing. It's something I like, not necessarily everyone's cup of tea. And then I'm going to go to midpoint and make that a little bit bigger, just to stretch it out to the corners a little bit more. And then usually one of the first things I do is check the white balance. I was pretty happy with it on this, but I'll go through and I'll check. I like to check auto and see if it changes anything. A little bit too warm for my taste, so I'll go back to as shot, and then maybe go a tiny bit warmer. But from there, that's pretty much a finished image. Again, you can see the beginning one is kind of flat and dull, and then we have some nice detail and a little bit of a more epic look. So hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. If you did, we'll do more. We'll do it with all kinds of other stuff, black and white, HDR, sunsets, you name it. So make sure to check out the blog, disneyphotographyblog.com, and we'll see you soon.